everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Nord and Block podcast. It is Monday, February 24th, 2025. I am one of your hosts, Nordic97, joined with LeBlock James. LeBlock, how we doing on this Monday morning? Monday.
Decent, not gonna lie. We're just doing a little decent.
Love that. All right, so we are back from the Four Nations tournament. Don't really have that much stuff to relate to it. We just have some post-injury news and some other stuff that we do need to talk about. But this is going to be a lot of trade deadline-related content. This might be, technically our trade deadline preview. More or less, I mean, there's still, 2 weeks till the deadline. But, yeah, this is probably going to be that episode. We have a trade board that we're going to go over. We're going to have an ordered one next episode. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff planned for the deadline these coming weeks. We're going to start off with the Boston Bruins, though, who had some news that might change their position at the trade deadline. Hampus Lindholm is out for the season, and that is a massive loss for the Bruins. That is arguably their second best defenseman. He is a top pairing guy. He has a huge impact to that Bruins roster, and losing him on an already pretty injured Bruins team, battered and bruised throughout the season, it kind of makes things interesting, and it might change Boston's position at the trade deadline. What do you think?
Losing Lindholm for the season is a huge loss already for the Bruins, who are already decimated with injuries. Like McAvoy, there's no timeline on his return either. So it seems to me that if the Bruins were smart, which is still jury's out, they would wave the white flag.
There have been some reports that might be happening, which is why we have a couple of players who are on our trade deadline board that are Boston Bruins. So we will be going over them, but it's a big loss for Boston. And again, this is a team that really has struggled. And I don't really think I've voiced my opinion that much on Boston, especially over the last couple of weeks. I think they should, as you said, wave the white flag and try and sell at the trade deadline and maybe look forward to a top 15 pick. Because I just don't think that with this team, they can win. It is proven. If they even make the playoffs, first off, give Pastrnak the heart. Seriously.
Yeah.
Secondly, are they really going to do anything in the playoffs? If they play Toronto, maybe they move on to the second round, but they're going to get bounced in the second round anyway. And to be honest with you, I make that joke. I think Toronto could beat them at this point. That is how rough and how bad I just don't like this Bruins team. And this is coming from someone who has been a Bruins fan in previous years and has rooted for the Boston Bruins in series and in playoff runs. I know that's hard for LeBlanc to say, but I have rooted for them in the past. I don't think this team is good enough. I don't think this team is good enough to contend and make a playoff spot. And even if they do, they're not going to do anything in them. So you wave the white flag. You trade away guys that you can use. I'm not going to say any names. You trade away guys that you can get assets for within reason.
Yeah, if like I said, if you're from Boston, you can either do two things: wave the white flag and trend in a different direction. But you kind of can't because you have guys like Pastrnak, Swayman on the team. So what I think is you wave the white flag this year, you do a little retool in the summer, and come back.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they're not moving in a different direction with this. I think if you sell the trade deadline, you get a top 15 pick, you get a guy who is, again, this draft class isn't elite, but there are some pretty good prospects, and maybe you get lucky. Maybe the lottery goes in your favor, and you get a guy from that perspective, but I just don't think that, you can roll with this core. If you get another really young player, I think this team is in a different spot, honestly. It would depend on what that is and who that is. Let's say, I don't know, a guy like Ivan Ryabkin drops from, where we project him to be and gets down to Boston. Maybe that's a good pick. He seems like a Boston Bruin, too, the way he plays. Mm-hmm. But, again, I just think that you're better off selling and just not tanking, but try and get a top 15 pick. And then you're going to have some money in the offseason. Maybe go out and get a big name guy. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah, Boston, but I feel like, and I was talking to one of my Bruins fans today. Jeremy Jacobs, the owner of the Boston Bruins, seems kind of like, I don't want to compare him to Jerry Jones of the NFL, but it kind of seems like they're very similar. Where, we're right around the corner. All we need is another impact guy, and we're golden, and we're still in it. And Boston has always been about winning. That's been their mindset for over 50 years now. They're always in the playoff. I don't remember in my lifetime the Bruins being not great
in a rebuild. That being said, you look at their overall season by season results. I don't know. I think the most time since the decade started, or not the decade, the century, the most times in the year they've missed the playoffs, I think, is 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure. So, again, they have been contending for a very long time. The fact that they've been able to contend for this long is impressive. But I think at the same time, maybe you're better off taking a year and just going for a top pick. Top 15.
Doing a little retool.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Nothing ashamed of.
Exactly. It's never a bad thing. Moving on from Boston, though, we got a report. And this goes back to the Four Nations, because Hampus Lindholm, I don't think, played in the Four Nations. No, he's
still injured.
Yeah, so Florida, a big problem with them. There are some concerns that Matthew Tkachuk may be out for the season. And when we saw this report, I was like, uh-oh. Because this relates to the next thing that we're going to talk about, and how the Minnesota medical staff and the medical staff for Team USA was under a lot of fire in the last week. Exhibit A, Charlie McAvoy, he has an infection in his injury, and he had to go get that cleared out. And as a result, he's going to be week to week. Again, as you said, there's no timeline there for McAvoy. And that made a lot of Bruins fans upset. I think the Bruins even released a statement, too, about it. And now we're hearing about Tkachuk possibly being done for this season. And that's a guy, again, he was a huge part in Florida's playoff run. And I think that is a guy that you really can't afford to lose. He is an emotional leader, as it was said, and he plays with that, physicality. He plays like a Tkachuk. Seriously, he is one of the Tkachuk brothers and plays like one. And now Florida's down. I would argue their best player, maybe besides Barkov, as some people think a different way. And I don't know if part of that is to blame on the Minnesota medical staff, but Tkachuk was on Team USA. And Team USA had the same staff as the Wild, as the Wild, so maybe there's a connection there.
Yeah, Team USA, Bill Guerin's medical staff in particular under fire. You talk about Tkachuk, even the other Tkachuk. Ottawa apparently wasn't happy with the way they dealt with his injury too. You saw guys Matthews, the Leafs weren't happy about it. McAvoy, Bruins weren't happy. A lot of just not so nice things to say about the Minnesota medical staff from teams around the league. But yeah, it's such a bad look for Minnesota. 100%. And considering Kaprizov's injury, that he's going to miss more time than expected now. What do you think? And it's where we just speculate about everything that happens. Minnesota medical staff to blame for that?
Possible. I wouldn't put it past them. Seriously, I think that is something that you definitely need to look at. Again, and this is all happening simultaneously. You see McAvoy's out for a while, and then, we hear the thing about Tkachuk. And I'm not saying that all of it is connected, but there's definitely a part of it that is connected. If I don't know exactly how it was handled, but if you're being criticized for it, it's not a good look at all. All right. I put up a statement here from the Boston Bruins. I was trying to find it while I was talking. It's a statement from the head team physician, physician, Dr. Peter Asnis, not 100% sure. So starting statement, he said, Charlie McAvoy sustained an injury to his right shoulder, acromacular, holy shit, joint to in Team USA's Four Nations face-off game against Finland on February 13th. He underwent treatment, which was administered by the Team USA medical staff. Upon returning to Boston, he developed increasing pain, for which he was evaluated by the Bruins medical staff. After undergoing X-rays, MRIs, and blood work, he was diagnosed having an infection on his right shoulder, as well as a significant injury to his AC joint. He underwent a irrigation and debridement procedure at the Massachusetts General Hospital on February 18th. He remains in the hospital where he was being treated with IV antibiotics. His condition is improving. So he was getting better. But again, another statement that was released saying that, he was not going to be playing for the Four Nations tournament. And I'm trying to find the other one. There was another one where it was saying the Bruins were upset with how it was handled, but I can't seem to find it. LeBlanc, I don't know if you have it pulled up, but
I think it was tweeted by Friedman.
Wow.
All I know is that it was out there and we saw it.
Yeah, it was definitely posted. So it's not like we're not making this up.
We're not bullshitting.
No, we are not bullshitting at all. But yeah, again, like this is something that we do need to keep in mind. Because if we possibly see like another, thing come up and maybe, somebody else gets injured, like this could turn into possibly lawsuits. Seriously, this could turn into more of a legal thing than it is an NHL type of thing.
Do you know how bad it looks if, like, let's say the Bruins sue the Minnesota Wild?
That is a very bad look.
It's a horrible look for the league.
Yeah. If your teams are going against each other, it's an absolutely terrible look. Terrible. So I really don't know what's coming next, but that was something that I did want to bring up. If I find anything more of it, I will bring it up. But again, I'm having trouble finding the statement. I had it pulled up on my phone, but then I lost it, so I'm not 100% sure where it went. But yeah, it got ugly. It could get even more ugly. So I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go. But yeah, that was something we wanted to bring up there. Not the best report on it, but yeah, it's definitely something we need to keep a look on. Alex Ovechkin, the Washington Capitals are staying hot. They have been unreal since the start of... You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. You're like your eyes wide open. They've been unreal since the Four Nations break concluded. And I'm not particularly surprised that they are coming out right away and playing the way they are. They have scored 15 goals in the last 24 hours with a 8-3 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins and then a 7-3 win over the Edmonton Oilers in just back-to-back games. A back-to-back at that. So this is a Capitals team that did not have any players playing in the Four Nations break, which LeBlanc didn't even know 2 episodes ago and was like blown away by it. And the fact that they are coming back and they are playing the way they are, it shows that was the worst decision the league could have made, because now this team is fully energized, fully rested, and they look like they're rolling already. It's unreal. They only have 1 regulation loss in 2025.
They are rested. They're rested. They're ready to go. And this might be, as some say, a team of destiny. Like, I've been low on the Capitals almost all year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to see it now. I am really starting to see it.
I haven't been low on them. I was a little bit lower on them to start the season. There were some people who were like, "Oh my God, he hates the Caps. He thinks Ovechkin sucks." And I'm like, I don't think Ovechkin sucks. I don't think these things that people are saying. There were some people on social media who were like calling me a clown because you didn't have the Caps that high, and I'm like, yeah, like because it's a lot of new players on a new team, and I wasn't too trusting of it, but. I mean, they've proved a lot of people wrong.
I know.
And I wasn't high on them. Like, I think I had them 4th in the division. Like, I was higher on them the most, believe it or not. But yeah, they've completely proved all of us wrong. And they suddenly look like a team that went from not good future to consistent future for the next, I'd say, 5 years.
Yeah, and like about the all these new additions, like I almost want to say like I've seen this story before. Like all these new additions, it doesn't pan out year one, and then year two it kind of takes off.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you basically just described what might happen to Nashville, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one thing that I also wanted to bring up involving Ovechkin. Puck Empire posted something on TikTok saying, quote, "The question is no longer if Ovi will break Wayne Gretzky's 894 goal record. It's can Ovechkin be the first player in NHL history to score 1,000 goals?"
Honestly, no.
That's what I thought you were going to go down. That's the road I thought you were going to go down.
900, I could see it. 1,000, folks. Ovechkin, I hate to break it to you, is old.
Without a doubt, he's coming close.
Yeah, like
there's no doubt.
I think he'll definitely hit 900. 1,000, I don't know. For him to hit 1,000, he would have to be in the league at least 3 more years. I don't think he has 3 more years left in him.
I don't know. Well, I think he definitely has 3 more years left in him. I just don't know if it's in the NHL. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know if he's in the NHL. That's what I wonder. I think that he can. He's 100% getting 900. He's getting 900 without a doubt. He's probably getting 950. But people do have to realize. I mean, he turns 40 next September, so he'll be on the last year of his deal by then. His contract will expire when he's 40 years old. He would probably have to play. I mean, he is scoring at a crazy rate, but he probably have to play another 2 to 3 more years in the NHL. He'll be 43 by then.
I think Ovechkin's made it very clear that he wants to end his career in Russia.
Exactly. And maybe he has a change of heart. Maybe he's like, I want to stay with this Caps team. I want to win. Because even now, all of these years later, he is still the center of this team with an almost completely new core. You know, a lot of these players who were on this team when they won the 2018 Stanley Cup
are gone,
more or less. I mean, there's a couple left. Tom Wilson, Lars Eller left and came back. I think Nick Dow was on that team. Verana, I think, was on that team too. Carlson, obviously. There's a couple of guys who are still left, but a lot of them are gone. A lot of them are either on new teams or they're retired or they're on just LTIR for the rest of their career. And honestly, I think that the fact that he is still the center of this team that many years later is crazy. And that being said, I think he can do it. I think he can get 1,000. It's just a matter of if he's in the NHL. He definitely has a lot. I think he has 5 more years left in him playing hockey.
Yeah.
I just don't know if those 5 years are in the NHL.
I kind of see Ovechkin maybe like a Jaromir Jagr. Like, he'll probably keep playing hockey till he's like in the ripe age of 50, but it won't be in the NHL.
Yeah, I don't think you can play in the NHL for that long. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can see it. It's a question that I don't really know right now. Like, I think it's possible, but it's unlikely. I'm gonna be the jackass and give that kind of answer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think he had to play 3 more full seasons.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know if he has that in him. We'd have to see. But hey, anything is possible, as it was mentioned. That being said, let's get into our trade board. So our trade board that we put together is a list of 25 names of guys that we think will get traded, may get traded, or are in the conversation or rumors or names that we have heard. Again, next week, there is a possibility that there will be trades that have happened, and we may not have some of these guys on our list next week. But I think that this is a list we put together, and I don't think we're missing anybody that's really big. So without further ado, LeBlanc, anything you want to say first?
Yeah, like, these are guys who either, like you said, like, they're being talked about. There's been discussions, or, you know, their names is just out there. It's out in the open, you know. And
basically, we pulled together all the names we've heard throughout the season. We put together a couple of names that we think could get traded.
Yeah, we got a few wild cards in there too. So
yeah, we have a couple of wild card guys for sure.
I think next week when we have our board again, you're going to see some new faces on this board. I can guarantee you that.
You might see some faces wiped off as well. Yeah. So we will have to see. Let's just go down the list. We have, again, as I said, 25 names here, so we'll try and move relatively quickly. First off, Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders.
Are you going to put it on the screen, sorry?
Oh, I wasn't planning on putting it on the screen. I was just going to mention all of them. So, Brock Nelson this season with the Islanders in 55 games played, 17 goals, 18 assists, 35 points. This has been one of the number one guys we've heard being brought up, and I think that the odds of him getting traded are increasing, especially with the fact that we haven't heard a ton on the Islanders extension news with him.
There was talk about like a potential 3-year extension with him. But that was weeks ago, and we haven't heard diddly squat since.
Yeah, we have not heard a lot about it. I don't think that it's going to happen. I mean, anything's possible, but I think if the Islanders were smart, they would trade him. But who the hell knows? It's Lou Lamoriello. It's been a name that we've heard a lot. I think that if we're looking in terms of realistic and the best player, I think Nelson's number one, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think when we started doing this trade board, I think I reiterated that I think Nelson is the number one player to be traded. Like, he's the number one target on the board.
Now, we're going to go through a couple of names here, and you're going to be like, oh, Nelson's not better than so-and-so. But that player, we may not think is going to get traded. There are a couple of guys on this board who are better than Brock Nelson, like overall. But I'm not as lenient on them getting traded as I am Nelson.
I do want to mention to our audience that the board we have right now isn't ranked in any order.
Yeah, it's not ranked in any order. It's not ranked
right now. We kind of ran out of time, so
we kind of just went through it. Honestly, we've done a bunch of names.
By next week's episode, we should have a ranked board, though.
Yeah,
and I want to put this. I like to rank the board based off of how likely are they to get moved.
Right.
So guys like you hear guys like you have like Brady Tkachuk. He will not be on this board.
No, Brady Tkachuk is not on this board.
Even though his name is always out there for some reason. Even though both of them keep saying no, it's fine.
Yeah, just want to say Brady Tkachuk is not on this board. As much as I peer pressured LeBlanc into putting him on this board, he's not on here, annoyingly. Number 2, though, a guy who is on the board, Scott Laughton, a guy that I met today at the Flyers Carnival, has 27 points in 55 games played with the Flyers this year. Laughton, I think, as the days go by, it is more and more likely the Flyers probably trade him.
Yeah, for years now, we were saying, they might trade Laughton. They've put his name out there, and then they just, we'll just hang on to him. I think this is the year, though, that they finally pull the trigger. Laughton does have term.
He does. I think he has a year left after his current contract, so whoever's getting him is getting this guy for more than just 1 year, and I think that's a good thing, honestly. I think that puts the leverage in the Flyers' favor a little bit. You have some term, so I really don't hate that there. I think Laughton is a good option for teams.
Laughton should get a first on the market. I don't think he's worth a first, but he will get a first.
I don't think he's worth a first either, but I mean, if we're being honest, there are a lot of players who aren't worth firsts who have gotten firsts. So just telling you right now. Yeah, exactly.
Could you, if you could put Nelson and Laughton on a team, who do you think would trade for them right now?
For both of them?
Yeah, because we missed Nelson. So I want to.
Oh, you mean separate? No.
We're not doing no 3-team trade.
Okay, I was gonna say, for Nelson, I could see Winnipeg. Winnipeg was a team that was saying Frank Cervelli said it was quote a perfect match, and then for Laughton, I've heard a lot of Toronto.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Laughton. I would say definitely Toronto seems like the one making the most noise.
Yeah, for sure.
Brock Nelson, I don't know why I think it, but I can see a world where he's on the Colorado Avalanche.
I could too. I mean, again, we said after the Rantanen trade that we didn't think that the Avalanche were done, and I still don't think they're done. I think we're still going to see a lot more when it comes to them. But yeah, I think that is a good destination. Actually, I think the Avalanche are possible, but I say that a lot with the Avs, so we'll have to see. Next up, then, Mikko Rantanen. We're gonna have to explain this one a little bit more. Mikko Rantanen this season with the Avalanche / the Carolina Hurricanes, because obviously he's played for two teams. This season has 67 points in 56 games played. Now, LeBlanc, do you want to explain why Mikko Rantanen, the player who was already traded, is on our trade board?
So he's on the trade board because it seems that he might not want to resign in Carolina. And honestly, if I'm Carolina and I gave you Natchez and those picks and Jack Drury, I kind of want to return on my investment.
Yeah, for sure. We heard a report from Darren Dreger that they did offer him an extension in like the 9 digits, so like $9 million. Rantanen said he is still thinking about what he wants to do and is still processing everything, so they may not have a clear answer for a little bit here. But again, you're going to get to the point where like the deadline will pass and you're going to have no leverage in the draft.
Yeah, I'm
going to know you're trading him for his rights.
Let's say this: 9 digits is 10 million. Is 10 million or over? So
never mind, folks. I can't count. Yeah, 10 million or over. So yeah, they were offering him that much money. I don't know why like 9 digits processed as
if they could get Rantanen to sign an extension, I could see a world where this could be a sign and trade.
Yeah, it would depend on the assets you're in back, though.
But if we're talking about rentals, though, why do I feel the Edmonton Oilers should be all over this?
Oh, 100%. The Oilers should jump on that, like...
White on rice.
Like, flies on cow shit. Like, they should jump on that right away. I gotta be honest with you, though. I don't... Everybody's saying that, oh, yeah, you're going to trade Rantanen and you're going to get so much back. I just don't see that.
You have no leverage. Your leverage is
don't have leverage. Like, you are going to get stuff back. You're not going to get back more than what you gave away for him.
Unless he's with an extension.
Unless if he's with an extension, then there is some leverage there. But even then, like, that's not a ton of leverage. And even if you get him to an extension, then why the hell are you trading him anyway? Isn't the point of like, again, like it doesn't compute.
If I'm Carolina, I would only trade Rantanen if he says straight up, I'm not going to resign.
That's the only way, in my opinion. But I do get they are thinking about it. Like you got to consider all options. I don't know though. I think they probably do end up locking him up if it's in the 9 digits and not $9 million. That makes more sense than it being 9 mil. I think you can get them. You can get them. What else are you going to spend that money on? I feel like I've had this conversation before. Yeah, I don't know if it was with you or the Nordcast, but I feel like I've said that before. What else?
I feel like for Rantanen is like you talk about players who have like motivation. Some are motivated by winning. Some are motivated by money. Rantanen has done both. He's won the Stanley Cup, and he's been paid. So it's really going to. And if Carolina goes far, and he resigns, I would say his motivation is going to be winning. If Carolina gets out and they resign early and he resigns, his motivation is going to be money.
For sure. I do want to say this as well. Like, the only, like, if you, again, you need to throw the book at them if you're Carolina. You need to throw so much money at him. Like, give up to the cap, honestly. I mean, I know you got to make other moves, and then you got to make paper moves and, have enough salary cap and all that to sign other players, but this guy is a top 15 player in the league when he's playing at the level that we know he can play at. Unless if you're getting a Mitch Marner in free agency, there is no reason why you shouldn't be spending all that cap space on him.
Yeah.
Honestly. So we'll wrap up with that on Rantanen, unless you have anything else you want to say.
Do you think he gets moved?
No. I don't think it's possible. I think it's like a 70-30, and that's even pushing it.
Yeah, I would say more of like a 25-75. Like,
yeah. So like I don't know, honestly. Next up, we got a Blackhawk here. Ryan Donato. Donato, especially recently, and he could not be heating up at a better time, has been doing good for Chicago this season. 38 points in 55 games played. Has had some good stats his last couple of games. He's having a career year in terms of his stats. He's not like a sexy pick, but I think you could get a decent return for him.
Yeah, Ryan Donato, he's heating up at the right time for the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And very excellent down the stretch for this Hawks team, who is not a very good team right now. And he could be a very good third liner on a contender.
Yeah, I don't think he's like, again, as I said, like he's not like a sexy pick, and it's not like, he's going to come in and be like a top 6 player and be like on your first power play. But he's a guy who, again, like he can, he can kill off penalties if you put him in the right role, secondary scoring, and I think that goes a long way for a lot of teams. And again, you see a lot of the teams, maybe like the big name guy doesn't always work. Maybe it's always the guys you pick up that add on depth and grit and other things like that and experience. I know Donato doesn't have a lot of experience, but when you're mentioning guys who are deadline players, like I think that is possible. I think you're not getting a lot for him. You're not getting like a first round pick. Still could get a decent return.
Yeah. I feel like Donato, I feel like Ottawa should be all over that, personally.
Yeah. Even not as a Sens fan, I agree. You want secondary scoring. You want a guy who can, play on your third line. Donato's a great option. I feel like there's a couple of guys on this list who are honestly great options for that. So, yeah, I agree. Next up then, Trent Frederic of the Boston Bruins, and this is going into our Bruins conversation we had earlier. Frederic this season with the Bruins, and in 56 games played, has 8 goals, 7 assists for 15 points. Again, I think that Frederic, he struggled this year in Boston. There's been a lot of talk around him, though, as a good, like, third or fourth line pickup player, and I think that we could see that happening.
Yeah, I feel like in the playoffs especially, every team could use a Trent Frederic.
Yeah, guy who can fight, guy who can play grit. He's that kind of player. Just, again, the Bruins offense is dried up. You put him with a decent scoring, like you put him with, and I don't want to use this comparison, you put him with like a player of Ryan Donato's type, I feel like he could provide more offense than what he is.
Yeah, if you put him with a guy, if you put him with a guy like, I don't want to say like maybe even Nuge in Edmonton, like he'll get it going. Frederic is going to have a lot of suitors. Like I cannot pinpoint a team that's a match for him, but I can name do you know who could really use a Trent Frederic? And it will never happen, but Toronto.
Yeah, that would never happen. But Frederic is like, he would be something Toronto would need for sure. As you said, I agree. Like there's a lot of teams that you could do. I'm gonna say the Lightning. They need some secondary scoring. They need some additional depth. And I think that Frederic, a guy who has proven it, I don't know if you trade him in division. If the returns
got 1 year left, so he's a UFA after the year.
Yeah, exactly. So he'd be like a rental-esque guy. So, I mean, I don't know. But I think that he's a guy that I think I'm looking at a lot there for Boston. I also want to say we are going to bring this up just because Brad Marchand is not on our trade board.
He's not on our trade board because I don't think I think he's made it very clear he doesn't want to be traded. He wants, and like I said, players like Marchand, like Crosby, they care more about their legacy with their team as they get older than winning. Because Marchand and Crosby have already won.
I also, I don't think Sweeney would trade him unless if they get something that improves the team drastically. Like you're getting offered like. You get offered like Mikko Rantanen or something. Just like an example like that. Like you get something that like improves your team, not only like right now, but in the long term. That's the only way you trade him. But I don't think
the only other way I see Marchand getting moved is if Marchand goes to Sweeney and says, listen, I would like a chance to win this year.
That's the other way. I mean, but again, as of right now, when we're making this video, it just doesn't seem like a real possibility. Next up, Ivan Provorov of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Provorov might not even be a real possibility either, but we are going to bring him up because he's been a name that has been tossed around. Provorov this season with the Blue Jackets, almost at the Flyers. Still got that stuck in my head. 57 games played, 25 points. I would argue he is probably number one or number two defenseman in this trade board, at least as of right now.
Yeah, Provorov's an interesting case because it seems like he really likes it in Columbus. And
he does.
Because there's rumors about him getting dealt and then him coming back in the summer.
Exactly. I think that's something we could see happening. Like if Provorov gets an opportunity to win elsewhere, maybe they go down that road. But I think that Columbus, I'm not sure they're in the position right now where they're like, yeah, we're going to sell.
They're still in the hunt as of now, and next week, like I said, things change fast in the NHL. If they go, this next week is very important for all the teams at East Ridge. All those teams are going to be in hunts. So if Columbus somehow finds their way out of that hunt, I could see it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know though. Like I think that for that team, I think a lot of it's going to be like, oh, we don't want to trade away guys and give up on this core and be like, hey, we don't believe in you guys. I feel like Waddell might come in there and be like, we believe in this team. We want to help you guys make a push for the playoffs. Maybe like, again, like Provorov is a name out there I could see. I just don't think it's very possible right now. If you asked me in even December if I thought he was going to get traded, I say yes. Even last month, I would have said yes, but knowing what we know now and the Blue Jackets being as hot as they've been, I don't know if I can really see it happening.
I don't know. I would say I still think this is a 50-50 for me. I feel like we've seen teams who, like, when they're in the hunt, they still sell.
I lean no. I'm going 60-40. 60% chance he doesn't get traded, 40% chance he does. I think it would have to be for a first, at least.
Yeah, no, you need to get a first back.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of defensemen who were traded for firsts, ironically enough, Provorov was, and so was Seth Jones of the Chicago Blackhawks, who in a report this last week said that he wants to have a chance to win elsewhere. He didn't request a trade out of Columbus, but he said he's negotiating with a team to leave Columbus. Jones this season in 40 games played has what?
To leave Chicago.
To leave Chicago. Did I see Columbus?
You did.
In 40 games played with the Blackhawks has 26 points. So yeah, I mean, he was with Columbus. There was talks of him maybe wanting to return to Columbus, even though I think he said he wanted to leave Columbus 4 years ago.
That's hilarious to me. Like, oh, where do you want to go? I want to go back to Columbus. Why?
I don't know. What do you think about Jones? I don't think it's likely.
They need to retain. There's no way a deal gets done without retention.
100%.
Jones isn't a bad defenseman. I think he's very overhated because of his contract.
He is also overpaid. He is way overpaid.
That's what I mean. He is overpaid, but he's still a good defenseman.
He's not worth, and I said this in a TikTok, I said this in my articles that I've been writing too, about how he is just not worth $9.5 million.
He's not.
You have him, sorry to interrupt you, if you have him at like a even 60% of that deal, like I think 60% of 9.5 is like 6 something, I think he's worth that. I think that's way better.
He's worth about 6.5, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just overpaid. He's not a bad defenseman. He's just a little overpaid. Again, like the return that they gave away and to Columbus, even then was questionable. Now it looks even worse, and that contract still looks bad. But again, like if you can, first off, retain on him, you could get something. I don't really know.
It's not going to be a lot.
No, it's not. They're in a really bad situation right now. Like if Ryan Donato's your number one guy, number one forward,
yeah,
I don't know.
I can't give you a team.
Me neither.
Because I don't know. I don't know. Like,
I'm gonna be blunt with you. This is an off-season move.
It is, and I'm not gonna decline that. Some team in the offseason will get desperate for a defenseman.
True. So I think that's something we see in the future. I just don't think it's something we see right now. Next up, Braden Shen of the St. Louis Blues. There have been reports that the Blues were gauging the market on Shen, and I think that's really interesting. Schenn this season with St. Louis in 58 games played has 33 points. This is a guy who's coming up on his 1,000th game in the NHL, has been in the league for almost 15 years. What do you think about?
I do want to say the Bruins have not asked him to waive his no trade clause.
No, there actually have been teams that have been poking around on him a little bit.
Yes, I know the Sens and Leafs have been on him. Apparently, St. Louis wants, quote, heaven and earth for Brayden.
You're not getting heaven and earth.
You're not going to get heaven and earth. You'll probably get Ohio. But Brayden
might get a first. Like if Lawton gets a first, I think Schenn
can get a first. Yeah, I'm just saying. It seems like St. Louis wants like a Seth Jones type package.
Nobody's getting the Seth Jones. There's like 3 first-round picks involved in that deal. No chance, not a shot in hell.
Yeah, there was 2 first, a Ross player and a top prospect, which I like. Brayden Schenn, he's not worth that.
No, he's not. I also like Brayden Schenn. He is not worth that much money, or not worth that much return. Honestly, he's worth a first and maybe like a third line forward or something like that, like a depth prospect, but he's not worth anything more than that.
I don't think Schenn gets moved.
Yeah, he also has term too. You got to realize that. Like he has a contract that isn't that pretty either. If he was a rental, then I think he would have been traded by now. But just that term just doesn't make it all that attractive.
Yeah, I think he makes 6.5.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's for the next like 3 years too.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that one, Chief. If I had to pick a team, like again, it's another offseason move. Like I think that's something we see in the offseason, if anything. I don't think we see it now. Guys with that much term don't usually get moved, especially midseason.
Do we see a Seth Jones Brayden Schenn swap?
No freaking way that happens. There is not a chance. That also doesn't. It doesn't. Not only does it not make. It doesn't make sense for either team.
They're rivals. They're rivals, first of all, and
yeah. And secondly, you're trading a overpaid defenseman for an overpaid forward. So like, doesn't really compute unless both teams retain. And even then, like, I don't think either of them fits either team's timeline, especially Schenn. Like Shenn's Shenn's like 35, I think.
Chicago would probably flip Schenn immediately.
Probably, or Shenn's only 33. Never mind, it's not that old. Next up, then, is a name that has been very attractive by a lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean just one fan base. Jake Evans. Evans this season with Montreal. That's just a joke, obviously. Evans this year with the Canadiens, 57 games played, has 27 points. Has probably been Montreal's number 1 trade candidate, at least in this season. I don't even know if there's really any other names. That we have one other Hab on this list, but I don't think he's a big name. I think if you asked me like a month ago when the Habs were on that insane stretch about Jake Evans, I was like, yeah, you can get a 2nd-round pick. I think now, though, like you're going to get like as much as Taylor Hall got.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Evans, you're probably looking at a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, at best.
Maybe, I'll be honest, though, Evans will have a lot of suitors. Kind of like Frederick. He will have a lot of suitors. So you could do the Canadians, maybe get a 2nd-round pick for him.
I mean, Ken Hughes has cooked before with really good trades on guys that we didn't think would net 1st-round picks or 2nd-round picks or high draft picks or whatever the hell they traded away. But
Evans is a playoff guy. I think like you need guys in your bottom 6 to succeed in the playoffs, especially. So you could see teams lining up for his services. If I'm thinking right now, why do I feel like Vegas would be a good fit for him?
Yeah, I've thought about Vegas too. One team that I think would be ironic if they got him was Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto have traded before, like a lot more recently, but like I don't see it, especially if they get Lawton.
Yeah, if they get Lawton, then you can toss that out the window. But I think Evans for me is an option where, let's say all the other players are off the market, then you're like, okay, we'll take Evans, I guess. But I think you could trade him, but again, like Montreal apparently wants to sign him too, so I don't know if you're in that big of a worry.
The guy having a career year in his contract year. I've seen this story before.
He's not gonna make a ton of money. He's 28, so like this is his real chance to cash in. So I totally
and I feel like
And I respect that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
go get your bag.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know how much it'd be or if I'm going to agree with it. And if it happens, we're going to make fun of it on the podcast. Mario Ferraro is our next name from the San Jose Sharks. Again, they already moved on from Granlund. They already moved on from CC. So Ferraro for us is the next guy up. He is the only Shark on this list. In 57 games played, Ferraro has 11 points. LeBlanc, you want to put him on the list. How do you feel about him?
I like Ferraro's defensive game. I know he plays for San Jose, which is kind of hard to say, but on San Jose, he's decent. Like, I feel like he's a guy who could be a nice third pairing defenseman on a playoff team.
He's not that expensive either, only 3.25. You could retain a little bit on him, and that wouldn't be. Oh, you can't retain. Never mind. They don't have retention slots.
They have no retention slots anymore.
You would have to give him up for full. I don't think that's going to be.
You have to trade him. You have to trade him to do one of those, like, what do they call the double retentions, but except have the whole other team retain.
I don't think that. I think you would have no problem moving him for full. You just might not get as big of a return. Could bring another team in, but then you have to give up more. It's just not ideal.
I'm gonna say who I think will get him and should be on him. The Ottawa Senators.
Here he goes. Yeah, I mean Ferraro though, he has one more year left after this one, so we'll have to whoever's getting him, if it is Ottawa, you're getting another year of term there. So I don't think it's out of the question. But yeah, for me, I think Ferraro is definitely an option there on the market. I think for Ottawa, for San Jose, they don't have a lot of guys they can really move on from anymore. I mean, could not a return for Carl for Toffoli if you decided to go down that road, but I don't think they're really interested in doing that.
No, Toffoli just signed and starting with them for 4 years. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they would. If they were antagonizing, they were going to move off from them. They would probably trade him have him sign for less. What about Wallman? I know we're going off the board. What about Wallman?
I don't see Wallman as a candidate to be traded. I don't even know what his contract is. I'm not going to lie to you.
He's 3.4 until the end of next year. So
I feel like
a little bit more than Ferraro.
I feel like next deadline. I can see Wallman getting. If a team wants him for two playoff runs, I could see him getting Wallman. But I feel like the following trade deadline will be Wallman's time. Yeah,
I agree with that. Next up then is Bowen Byram. We got 2 Buffalo Sabres here. We have 4 of them on the list. Bowen Byram this year with the Buffalo Sabres has as it loads, 55 games played, 29 points. I've heard rumors over the last couple of weeks that he's asking for $9 million. And I was like, holy shit, dude. What are we doing?
No. Yep. I feel like this, and I'm going to say this, Byram might be the most full of himself defenseman in the NHL.
If we're looking at it from that way, sure. I mean, he hasn't proved that he's worth $9 million at all. He wants
to be the number 1 defenseman on a team.
He's having a career year, but that career year is 30 points. So
I don't want to be mean, but sad.
I mean, I don't know. You could and we're talking a trade. You could get a good return for him. To be honest,
you could probably get a good return. I don't think it will be a big return. I think you're looking at more you're not going to get a first for Bowen Byram.
No, I mean unless if teams are desperate. But again, we said literally for almost every player we've said so far that they could get first. So, how many firsts are going to be left?
I do want to mention this. The defenseman market is so thin this deadline.
Yeah, so that's why we have a guy like Byram on here. I don't even know if he really gets moved, honestly.
Because here's the thing. Who's going to give him $9 million? Not the Sabres.
Not a lot of teams. No. Even with the cap going up. No.
No. I don't know. I feel Byram will be moved. It either will be this season, this deadline, or in the summer. I don't see him staying in Buffalo.
Yeah, he'd probably be. Well, is he an RFA or a UFA?
He's an RFA.
Okay, so yeah, you could trade him in the offseason then, and maybe a team goes out and offer sheets them. Next up, then, I mean, do you have a team that you think that could move on from him? Could get him? Excuse me.
I know we said this team too many times, but Toronto seems like a fit.
Toronto seems like they're in on a lot of players, to be honest.
But if you're looking for teams who need defensemen, honestly, Edmonton.
Yeah.
But Edmonton won't give him that money he asked for. I think
they don't. Not only will they not, they can't. They don't have money.
Yeah. What they would do probably is with Byram, if Edmonton, he would go to Edmonton. Let's say they trade like a second and like a fourth and a mid-tier prospect. What we would do probably, Edmonton would probably just like not tender him.
Probably
make him a UFA.
That'd be interesting. They would definitely try and sign him, but probably not for that amount of money. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Sabres, we got the workhorse from Whitehorse, Dylan Cousins, next up on the board. He's quieted down a little bit since the trade break, or since the Four Nations break. I remember hearing at the end of the roster freeze in December that Cousins was really close to being traded. Cousins this year, though, 27 points in 55 games played. I think it's becoming less and less likely as being a trade deadline move, but I think if we're talking in terms of like guys who have been brought up in rumors throughout the year, like he should be mentioned on this list.
Yeah, not Byron. Cousins, this could be an offseason move as well.
I think a lot of these could be, honestly. This deadline's so weak.
Dylan Cousins, I feel like can get moved. We always have that move that like sneaks up on us at the deadline that comes out of left field.
Yeah, Hurdle was the example last year. I don't know if Cousins would be out of left field.
That's not out of left field. He's been talked about, but like, why do I see Dylan Cousins rocking the red and white in Detroit?
I mean, we've heard that rumor be thrown on our face, so it could happen. Yeah, so I'm not saying so. It's definitely not impossible.
Another guy from Buffalo that's not on our list is Alex Tuch.
Alex Tuch was a name that we actually did forget. There is another Sabre on this list, but we'll get into him in a little bit. Yeah, Cousins, I think that's an offseason move. Detroit is possible. I think I'm gonna say Detroit too, honestly. And then speaking of Detroit, we have a Red Wing, Vladimir Tarasenko, who I'm gonna be blunt. If the Red Wings have talked about like they are gonna try and work something out with him and maybe try and find another potential destination. Tarasenko has one more year left on his deal. He has had a rough season. 24 points in 55 games played. Has actually been better recently, but just really hasn't been that
just
big of
an awful fit. Honestly, what an awful fit for the Detroit team. And Tarasenko is taking a step back. It's not just the fit; he's taking a step back as a player.
Yeah, I think above all, this is a guy who can give you experience. He's been in 2 Stanley Cup Finals, has won the Cup twice. He can score when he's put in the right scenario. He's like Line but worse. I don't know though. I don't know how much you could get for him.
How about a fourth?
You're not getting a lot at that.
How about a fourth?
Probably.
He also has another year on his contract.
That's the other disadvantage. Like with Evans, it's a little bit different because again, he has one more. He is a rental. With Tarasenko, you're getting term.
Like I would love to see him go back to Florida, but I don't think Florida could take on another year. But I just want to mention about Florida. Florida with Matthew Tkachuk injury, if he is out for the season, that's LTIR money they can play with.
Oh, they're screaming that 100%. Next up, then, Rasmus Ristolainen of the Philadelphia Flyers. Ristolainen has actually garnered a lot of attention the last couple of weeks and the last few years, honestly, which is very weird. Ristolainen this year with the Flyers has 17 points in 55 games played. I think that for Risto, you could get a first. I'm not too high on that first, but you could get one. What do you think?
I'll be honest, I don't think he gets moved.
I don't think he gets moved either, just because of the term. If he was like on the last year of his deal, then I'd be like, yeah. But he still has 2 more years left after this at 5.1. You have to retain as well, and I don't really see them doing that. So
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, that's what I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't see that happening. But I mean, like, there are teams that could go out and get him. Like, if they are really desperate on the defensive market, I think it's possible. But it's not something that I'm like saying, yeah, it's definitely gonna happen. We're gonna see it. It's coming. Like, it's closer to nah. It'd be more of an off-season move, honestly. Morgan Geekie, next up, another Boston Bruin. Morgan Geekie this year has garnered actually some interest heading into the deadline this season with the Boston Bruins. Has, as it loads, 30 points in 53 games played. There has been some attention there for him. He's actually been decent the last couple of games and is on pace to have a career year. I don't know if he gets a lot, but again, if Boston's really serious about selling, he could be a name we see get moved. I don't. I could see it. Like again, like I said, Winnipeg, they're gonna be really pursuing. I think they're gonna go for a top 6 forward and a defenseman. Maybe Geekie's a guy who go for there instead, but I don't know. Somebody I've been thinking about, to be honest. I think Winnipeg might be a good one, though. Next up, then, we got an interesting one. We have 2 interesting ones here. Brock Besser for Vancouver. Brock Besser this year with the Canucks. It's been an interesting year, to say the least, with Vancouver especially. There have been rumors that they may not keep him after this year. He has 35 points in 49 games played. I think a lot of that might be the concern over the blood clots that we saw in the game in the last year's playoffs.
7, yeah.
So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but I think that like if you're Vancouver and you see a return where you can get a guy that's better than Besser for Besser, I think you take it.
I don't think Besser's value is all too high right now.
Yeah, that's the problem.
If Vancouver's concerned about the blood clots, other teams are concerned about the blood clots too.
100%. So again, like it's something that is rather unlikely.
Besser is a UFA as well.
He is.
I want to say this. I feel like Besser somehow, some way, will end up in Minnesota. Whether it's in the free agency or whether it's through trade.
It does feel like a Minnesota move. Or Columbus. Like Columbus is another team that just pops into my head when I think Besser.
Yeah, well, I say that because Besser's from Minnesota.
Yeah, that too.
I think he said in the past that like he feels a little bit disconnected from his family since being in Vancouver. Vancouver and Minnesota aren't close to each other.
No, not really. I mean, they're closer than Columbus.
Yeah.
Vancouver. So maybe that. Yeah. I mean, Columbus is close to Minnesota. So how about it? Staying on Vancouver, we'll move over to Carson Soucy, who has also been a name that has been popped up over the last couple of weeks. Is I think a defenseman who has garnered some interest. Oh, what are you saying?
It's Jared McCann.
I was gonna just go to Soucy since he's right there.
Oh, okay.
It's not in order, but we were gonna go to McCann afterwards.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No. My bad.
Thanks for spoiling it, LeBlanc.
I didn't.
Soucy, 9 points in 55 games played with Vancouver this year. What do you think about Soucy, not McCann?
It will be a trade that happens in like the last 5 minutes of the deadline. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is gonna be a guy who like, oh, we didn't get the defense we wanted. Better call Vancouver.
Are these two things that we see happening if Vancouver decides to sell?
If Vancouver decides to sell, that means something went really wrong this week.
So yeah, these are rather unlikely.
But
again,
I could see Vancouver moving Soucy even if they don't sell.
True. Yeah, I could see that as well. So I agree with that. Soucy's like a guy who is like a third pairing defenseman, depth defenseman that you pick up. Again, as you said, like if your team doesn't get the right guy you wanted. And then that being said, let's go over to Jared McCann as LeBlanc spoiled him. We didn't talk about McCann last week. I feel like we should have. But McCann this year with Seattle in 59 games played has 43 points. And there have been some interest around the league around McCann.
Low key, he might be their franchise GOAT right now.
He is. He is their franchise GOAT, which is crazy to say, but he is.
I think for Seattle to move McCann, it would have to be kind of, I don't want to say heaven on earth, but it has to be pretty substantial.
They said that they're not interested because McCann, he has 2 more years left on his contract. This is something that I could see happening at the deadline if you can really make the money work and give up enough for your team to move McCann. Again, anything's possible. I hear teams calling on him, and I see Ron Francis is still the general manager, and I see anything's possible with Ron Francis being the general manager that he is. So I could really see it happening. I don't think it's likely, but I think it can happen. Again, this is a guy who can play good on both ends of the ice. Actually has a positive plus-minus differential on a bad Kraken team. So that has to say something. But overall, this is a guy who we know can play the way he is. He had 70 points only 2 years ago. He's looking like he can get to that mark again. This is a guy who we know. I'm going to be honest, he's probably like the second or third best guy if we're talking like in terms of really good players in this list.
If they make him available, everyone and their mama going to be lining up for Jared McCann.
Yeah, but I just don't know if I don't think they would, honestly.
Like in the words of Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. 7 more names left on our list now. Ricard Raquel is our next name. Raquel this season with the Pittsburgh Penguins has actually been pretty good. Was a later Four Nations pickup since there was a guy who was injured. But Raquel this year with the Penguins has 25 goals, 49 points in 58 games played. If you're looking for goal scoring, it seems like Raquel has done that. He's having almost a career-high year in goals. He's been unreal.
I do want to say Kyle Dubas is doing his best job to, screw everything up. I don't want to be blunt about it, but they said, they quote, they're not going to remove Raquel unless it's something substantial.
I think you could get substantial.
You could.
But I also think that you need, if you're getting a first for Raquel, you press yes.
I think Raquel also has term, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he has a year left. Actually, does he? I can confirm that. Raquel does. Oh my God, he does. He has 3 years left after this.
So I get it. The Penguins want to get a return on their investment. I understand.
Ooh, he's 31. Ooh, I don't know.
Making $5 million until 2028.
He'll be 32 at the end of this year. Yeah. By the time the year's done, it'll be 35. I don't know. I really don't know, man.
Pittsburgh would have to probably maybe retain a little bit. And
probably
with the direction they're going, as long whatever Pittsburgh, like we know Pittsburgh's on a downward spiral right now.
Yeah.
Once Crosby's gone, oh buddy, it's like throw the TNT in there and run.
It's gonna get dark unless they get Gavin McKenna,
which somehow they're gonna get.
We've brought that up on the channel before. We've brought that up on the pod before.
Lemieux, Crosby, McKenna, just
come on, just keep on making Pittsburgh great. David Savard is our next name. Savard, I think, is on the other side of unlikely. I don't see it happening again. Like there's interest there, but it looks like Savard wants to stay a Montreal Canadian. Has 12 points in 51 games played. I mean, it would take a lot for Montreal to move him. Not like a lot.
I don't think there'll be a lot. I'll be honest. I think Savard wants to stay in Montreal. It's like, yeah, we don't care about your feelings anyway. We don't care.
Well, I want to
David Savard is from Montreal. He's from Quebec. He's a Quebecer.
Yes.
So I get the sentiment of staying in Quebec, but you can just re-sign back in the summer.
You can, and who doesn't want to go win a cup with another team?
Yeah, and David Savard did that. He was in Columbus for so long, went to Tampa, won a cup, went to Montreal.
It still doesn't seem like though there's a lot of interest there.
Like once again, kind of like Susie, this is going to be a guy who's like, oh, we didn't get the guy we wanted.
Yeah, it's not a name that is that sexy. We've heard his name listed before, but it's still not something that I see particularly happening. But we'll have to see with Savard. Like a lot of these players on this list, we'll just have to see. Nick Bjugstad for Utah. I feel like I have been saying this for years. Like Bjugstad always going to get traded. He's a trade candidate. I think that if Utah is out of the playoffs, you should consider it. I don't think they're going to go like a deep sell. He has 15 points in 49 games played, just a fourth line guy. Nothing serious there. He'd be a fourth line cup contending team. He has gone on playoff runs before, though, with teams.
It would
like the Oilers last year or 2 years ago.
I was say it'd be hilarious if he went back to Edmonton
for the fifth freaking time and then went back to Utah. Just I genuinely don't know anymore.
Bukestad should have suitors after all like a lot of the main like bottom six guys go.
If we see a deadline like we did 2 years ago, where everybody was dealt before the deadline day, I think Bukestad is a guy that we could see get moved on from.
I feel like we're gonna get a deadline like last year, where like guys were like the week of deadline, it was pretty busy.
Yeah, like one of the name, like he's gonna be like a Johan Larsson type guy. Remember that guy? What a legend!
Johan Larsson,
absolute legend. I was lying in bed one night. Actually, no. When me and you, and this is gonna be something that nobody even knows about, when we were on last night and we were talking about guys from the 2015 draft, and we were talking about Jacob Larsson, Johan Larsson's name just popped into my head. I'm like, oh, holy crap, I forgot about that guy. But yeah, he'd be like a Johan Larsson type player who gets traded like deadline day, and nobody will even bat an eye at it.
Yes, for audience, we just get on sometimes. We just talk about random drafts.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a name that we have been saying for years, and I think that this might happen. John Gibson. It's
time.
I don't even like to mention it. I don't even think I mentioned it last year. I don't like to beat the horse.
But it's time.
But it might be time. It might be. He's having a great season, and a season that we didn't really see coming. Like again, in years before, his numbers have been declining, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not like interested, and like it's not good. But like when he's in a tandem like role, like he is with Dostal, I could see it.
Just give Dostal the reins. Like it's time.
Yeah, I think if you're like again, like Anaheim. Let me look at Gibson's contract real quick.
Gibson has like 2 years left, I'm pretty sure.
He has 2 more years. Holy crap. How big was that deal they signed him to?
Big.
When did they sign it? Oh, my Lord. Yeah, maybe. I mean, everybody's been saying Edmonton.
Yeah. I mean, like, you look at Edmonton the past 2 games, they need a guy like Gibson. So, Stuart Skinner, no disrespect, you ain't him.
I've had this conversation too many times. Stuart Skinner is a above average goaltender. He is a good goaltender. He is still very young, and he can become the guy that Edmonton thinks he's going to be. But here's the truth. You're not looking 3 years into the future. You're looking at right now.
Right now.
This team just went to the Stanley Cup final. I don't think they really lost because of Skinner. I don't really think they lost because of Skinner.
But Skinner played a factor.
But if you have... Yeah, I agree. He played a factor. But if you have a goalie in there who we know can be better than Skinner in the regular season, playoffs is a little bit suspect because Gibson hasn't been in the playoffs in a while. But in the playoffs, I think you have to try and take that.
You have Connor McDavid in his prime.
Yeah.
Don't waste it.
Don't waste it. 100%. Again, Edmonton isn't the name we see. I've heard Carolina. I don't really know who else, honestly. That being said, though, next up then, we have Casey Middlestat, who seems like has found his way out of Montreal. Found his way out of Colorado, and this season with the Avalanche has 32 points in 59 games played. How do you feel about Middlestat? He has had a rough go.
He's been awful this year, to be frank.
Yeah, he is not.
He needs to change the scenery.
He does. I think a team that we could see maybe looking at him, maybe Montreal.
I've heard that out there. Teams that need a center. Teams that need like a center. Even like this might be a team. I'll hear for a team like I'm gonna throw this out there. Maybe a team like Chicago take the swing.
I mean, he's still 26. He's entering his prime. I think it's a guy who you can develop to more, and maybe putting him alongside Bedard instead of like a 30-year-old rental. Maybe that's a better move. I don't know. It would just depend on like what you're giving away, though.
If they were Colorado, it seems like they just need the money.
Yeah, 100%. So
this might be a pitch for players swap.
Yeah. It's probably going to be that way. Second to last name, Erik Karlsson. I didn't even know we were going to be bringing up him, to be honest. Karlsson this year, 40 points in 59 games played. Had a really good Four Nations, though, with Sweden. But I don't know if that increases the value of trade.
He's not getting moved next. Like, I don't know.
He's not getting moved to the deadline.
Yeah.
That I can say for sure.
Because I thought we were talking about Ryan O'Reilly here.
Oh, my bad. You also included Karlsson, though.
I mentioned Karlsson.
Oh, well.
It's fine. We'll go Ryan O'Reilly here then.
Well, let's continue with Erik Karlsson.
Okay.
What do you think about Karlsson, though?
Oh, Karlsson's a legend.
He is a name that has been out there.
Karlsson's a legend, but he's older now, so it's
That has to be more retention.
More attention in Pittsburgh. I think they made it very clear they don't do that.
They don't do that. That's correct. I still don't know though. It's an off-season move.
It's an off-season. And teams that have trouble scoring on their back end, they need Karlsson.
Yeah, for sure. And then last but not least, Ryan O'Reilly, Nashville Predators. He is a name. I'm not too high on O'Reilly. I'm going to be honest. LeBlanc was the one who wanted to throw him in here last second. I don't know if there's really a suitor for O'Reilly. There are possibilities out there. O'Reilly this season, though, 34 points in 53 games played. Nashville's made it clear that it's going to take a lot for them to move him.
Nashville's also made it clear that they want O'Reilly to go where he's happy.
Yeah.
They're not going to send him somewhere where he's not going to. Because he has another year left on his deal.
But they also said no. They have two. He has 2 more years left. Oh. They also said they want to give him. They want to they want to get a lot back. And what do those 2 things mean? You want to put him where he's happy. No leverage.
I mean, none. They kind of have the leverage though.
No, they don't.
But he's got 2 years.
If that's out there, that O'Reilly. If they're only going to take O'Reilly to places he wants to go, if Nashville wants to get a return, it's going to be light.
It will be light, but I feel like they can still keep him. They don't They're like we don't have to trade him. We have him for 3 more years. Or O'Reilly hasn't requested a trade.
Exactly, he hasn't requested a trade.
If he requested a trade, then they'd have no leverage.
Well, what I'm saying, you think they still have leverage, even if they're saying that they're going to take him to a place that he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say they call up a team and they say, hey, do you want Ryan O'Reilly? And they're like, oh, he must want to go here. No leverage.
Sure. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. What was the team you think, though? Do you think a team could go out and get him?
I think, like I've said it multiple times this episode, but Toronto, but I feel like he doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to go back to Toronto.
Yeah, we had the discussion in the Toronto media.
I think that's it. He meant that. That's why he left.
Yeah, the media. I think otherwise, I think he would still be there. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I could see. I mean, he's from Western Canada.
Yeah.
But like I said, the media. I think he would be more suited. Maybe, honestly, Los Angeles.
I've heard that too. His term, though, is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is our trade board. We missed a couple of names, like Alex Tuck, I think I would have thrown in on there.
Honorable mention to Jack Quinn. He was the last one on our list originally.
Yes, but then we realized midway through the recording that we forgot Ryan O'Reilly. But, yeah, that is our trade board. Again, we will have it in more order, more in depth.
Oh, another one we forgot was Noah Dobson. His name.
Oh, and Dobson, too. Shit.
Well, there's always next episode.
Yeah, there is always next episode. I agree. All right. Well, that being said, that is it for this episode of the Northern Block Podcast. A little bit of an interesting one. Not the greatest one of ours, but we always come back better and we always come back good. We will have more trades, more updates. What'd you say?
Just a yap session.
Yeah, probably. LeBlanc, any final thoughts?
Brady Tkachuk, please be okay. Please, I'm begging you to please play against Winnipeg on Wednesday. I will be in the building.
He will be in the building. My final thought is, shout out to Alex Georgiev, who has gone 40 days without a game with a better save percentage than the opposing goalie.
Wow.
That's the stat of the day. All right, that is it for this episode of the Maroon Black Podcast. We'll be back probably next Monday or Tuesday. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Ciao.
I just do what I do. See me? I just do what I do. Man, I just do what I do. To know about you, I just do what I do. Check. That's the intro. See that? Yeah. I just do what I do. See me? I just do what I do. Yo, check. Let me flip this script. I feel privileged for all who can witness this. I am close to divine. Know the moment is mine, need no omen or sign. Providing a back sound to all the squares that ask around. Be getting it, my skills pay me. Trying to get a million, baby, with an adopted flow that God gave me. Me now. Tell whoever runners that they spot is temporary till I take it as mine. I'm selfish, your will. Tell Miss I'm on my wealth tip. So when we cash out soon, I'm just investing. Hey, no yes men. I've been a legend since before mom and dad had me and was best friends. I chew through comp, don't test them. I chew on tracks, cause after that I bless them. I just do what I do. You see me? I just do what